let's analyze this. So, WrestleMania 35 is drawing near upon us, and ESPN, I want to say about a week and a half ago, sat down with the participants of the Raw and now SmackDown Women's Championship Triple Threat main event of WrestleMania 35 between the Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey, the SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair, the SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair, and the man Becky Lynch. So they're going to talk about what headlining the event means to them and the quote-unquote women's revolution, now evolution. Let's see what they have to say.
We are now pleased to welcome in Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch from the WWE, the headliners of WrestleMania 35. First ever women's main event in WrestleMania history. April 7th, MetLife Stadium, WWE Network. And before we jump into that, Ronda, we're going to sort of ask you about the story that shook up our show this morning, certainly shook up our rundown. Saw your tweet overnight. What's your reaction to Conor McGregor's retirement?
Before she answers, I actually want to chime in on that a little bit. I don't expect it to last long. If it does last long, I also wouldn't be surprised either, because Conor has a business venture that seems to be relatively successful outside of fighting. He has his own whiskey business, I believe. One of you peeps can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but it seems like business is booming in terms of that venture. So I wouldn't be surprised if he stuck to his retirement. But we all know that combat athletes, mainly combat athletes, over team sport athletes or athletes that compete in sports that is not as physical as combat sports. We all know that combat sport athletes, not just wrestlers, also MMA fighters, boxers, kickboxers, what have you, most of these motherfuckers do not stick to their retirement. They always come out of retirement at some point for something. You know, in terms of boxing, Floyd Mayweather is an example. George Foreman made a comeback after 10 years of being retired. You know, it happens all the time. So there's nothing new. And then, of course, in professional wrestling, I'm not even going to give the million examples that I could give. But Conor announced his retirement before, so you can't really believe it till you see it, especially this time.
Well, it's a creative way to retire, and it was a cryptic way to retire, so we'll see how permanent it is. If he wants to retire forever, I mean, like, he's more than earned it, and like I said, I'm ready to buy that second round.
You have the same reaction that I think a lot of people do. We'll see how permanent it is. Becky, let's get to WrestleMania 35. The reason you all are here, your reaction to being a headliner on the grandest of all stages within your sport.
Yeah, I've been working towards this obsessively since I was 15 years old. Like, I left home and traveled to Canada and around Japan and around Europe, and there was a period in there where I left the business because I didn't think that this was possible, and but there was always...
No, Becky, you left because you had a career-ending neck injury. I don't know why I don't want to say she downplays it, and I don't want to say she ignores it, but she doesn't bring it up. And I mean, for many athletes, it might be one of those things where, you know, they could be ashamed of it, I guess. And, you know, what's in the past is in the past. But something that's significant to your career, you kind of have to bring it up every now and then. I'm not saying that she should harp on it and let it dictate her future or even her present, but it's a story. It's something that got you where you are now. So, not to say that you should glorify it or harp on it, but you should definitely appreciate it. That's just my opinion.
Part of me that just felt like I had more to do, and that I wanted to accomplish this dream. And even when I got signed to WWE, one of my good friends, I said to him, I'm going to main event WrestleMania. And he said, it's good to dream, but be realistic. And here we are.
You're sort of smirking when you hear that. Is that more at the confidence at that young age, or just the fact that you all are on this stage together?
No, because so many people said, it's a huge dream. I mean, main eventing WrestleMania is the pinnacle of the women's evolution. And even 2 years ago, I think...
Did Charlotte do something with her eyelashes? I've been thinking about that the last couple of weeks. I don't know, her somewhere around her eyes just looks completely different than ever before. I'm not gonna assume anything. I'm just questioning what I see.
Most people would say that's impossible. And look what the women from the past, helped get us here, and what we've created in the last few months, and the momentum. Now we're walking into MetLife with a capacity of 80,000 people and main eventing WrestleMania.
That's their reaction.
Watch them not even come close to having 80,000 people in attendance. Dave Meltzer gonna be on that within 5 minutes that the show ends. He's gonna be like, they're lying again. Dave Meltzer is always the first. He's always the first one to jump on this. I swear.
Reaction when you got, whether it was the call, the text, the tweet, the email, whatever it was, you're a part of this. What was your reaction?
Well, on one hand, I was already expecting it, and on another hand, I was just really happy that it was finally certain. Like, it seemed like an abstract goal somewhere far in the future, but when I came into WWE just a year ago, and my goal from the very beginning is I wanted to be part of the first ever women's main event for WrestleMania.
Let me just say real quick, Ronda is not the biggest reason, nor is she the sole reason for the women finally being able to main event WrestleMania. But what her contributions are in terms of this whole situation is that she helped speed up the process. She sped up the process. She's not the sole reason for it coming to fruition, but she helped sped up the process. There's no doubt in my mind of that statement whatsoever.
And it's just incredible the amount of momentum that we've been able to generate within just a year. If you look at last year's WrestleMania compared to now, like what I think what's happening in WWE is really a parallel for everything that's happened culturally around the world. The WWE just copies everything else that's happening with the women's evolution and revolution, every industry out there. And so
you're right, Rhonda, because we all know that this so-called quote-unquote women's evolution, we all know where it really started. It didn't start in the WWE. It didn't even start in the UFC. We all know where it started. You can thank a company that used to be known as Total Nonstop Action Wrestling for that. And fans really tend to downplay Impact, formerly known as TNA's contributions to women's wrestling in the 21st century.
like, I really think that this is one of those mediums where you can affect real social change and affect how women view themselves. This is the same company that had bra and panty matches that are now, raising the women to the highest pinnacle that they have in the industry.
Oh. Alright, so that's it. Just wanted to give my little thoughts in terms of this main event for WrestleMania. I'm looking forward to it. I think that match is going to steal a show because all three are in the middle of their prime. Charlotte is almost near, she's on the tail end of hers, but all three of them are still at their absolute best, and I wholeheartedly believe that they're going to give their absolute best. So this was a nice little interview. I'm out.